To keep yourself updated, subscribe to IndigoLearn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
Hello friends, my name is Sriram and I am your faculty for Paper 2 Strategic Financial Management SFM as students popularly call it for CA Final. So SFM is one very interesting subject and it is my favorite subject when I studied for CA. Before we delve further into what is SFM, how it is structured, what are you supposed to study, how are you supposed to study, what is the approach that you should take, what are the things to remember, all of that, I would like to take probably a few minutes explaining first about who am I, what did I do in the past, and what is my approach to teaching SFM to you guys, right? So just about my background on who am I and what I did in the past. I am a chartered accountant, or rather I passed my CA exams in 2003, and after that I got a campus placement. I worked in an FMCG company where I was doing accounting related stuff. For the first one and a half year I was doing about basic accounting, with respect to FMCG accounting and all of that stuff. After that I wanted to pursue MBA. I joined ISB Hyderabad. There I did my MBA, or it is called postgraduate program. I did my postgraduate program from ISB Hyderabad, and there I majored in finance. And after that I joined equity research in a bank in Mumbai, and I was researching on stocks which are listed in the US, microcap stocks. I was researching on them, doing equity research on them. And then I moved to an Indian investment bank which was just setting up shop in India. Then I spent about 2 years approximately, where I was doing equity research on Indian stocks, where we were covering large companies in the power, oil and gas sector, right? Power utilities in oil and gas sector. So I did equity research for 3 odd years, where I was both US stocks as well as Indian stocks, where I did a lot of valuation, published a lot of reports, valuing large multi-billion-dollar companies, looking and analyzing at their quarterly performance, coming out with recommendations, buy, sell, hold, stuff like that. After that, I actually worked in a large corporate called Coromandel Fertilizers. It's part of the Murugappa group. I worked there for roughly about 5.5 to 6 years. There I worked on, primarily my role was heading the treasury, and also I was doing a lot of investor relations and M&A activity. So with respect to heading the treasury, so we had a huge exposure of foreign currency. So you are going to learn what exactly this foreign currency exposure, what does it mean and all of that. But over the course of about 5 odd years, I and my team, we would have entered into transactions worth close to few $1 billion. I think easily about $3 to $4 billion worth of forward covers we would have entered into. I have done currency forwards, I have done currency options, a lot of option structures. I think me and my dealer together we did more than easily about $300-400 million worth of currency options, right? Then I've done a lot of borrowing for my company. So I've done working capital loans, I have done long-term loans. Then I have done commercial papers, then we have done bonds. We have in fact done debentures, we have issued debentures, then we have done unique structures like bonus debentures. So every year I handled borrowing of anywhere between 4 to 5,000 crores, easily 4 to 5,000 across various sources of finance. Then I was also part of investor relations team, where we used to actually go to large investors across the world, try and pitch to them what our company is, and then explain them our prospects and try to get them to buy our stock or become shareholders in our company. Then I was part of 2 very large M&A transactions. Each one was 150 odd million dollars. So 150 at that point of time, rupee dollar exchange was different, but I did fairly large size transactions where I and my CFO, we worked together and we did those deals to listed companies in India. We actually right from origination to execution we did that, right? So that is one activity I've done, and both of them were more than $100 million each. And I also was part of international M&A team, where we actually went to a lot of countries trying to see if we could actually acquire companies, whether we could merge them or we could take stakes in them, how to value those companies, how to understand those business and all of that. And I was also part of the business planning team, where I would spend time with the senior folks in the company, probably on their strategic aspects, trying to figure out what is the financial implication of that. Right, so I used to do a bunch of that activity when I was in treasury, when I was heading the treasury at Coromandel. First, as I said, I had worked in FMCG, that was agrotech foods. ITC Agrotech as it was called then. Then I had worked with BNP Paribas in their equity research team in India. Then I had worked with Coromandel Fertilizers, and after that I actually went and joined a startup as their head of finance. It was equivalent to CFO role, VP Finance is what it was called. There I was helping them raise money. Again, I was pitching to a lot of venture capitalists. I was actually doing a lot of debt raise for them. So in fact, we were one of the first ones to raise debt for a startup, and that was a small size startup. I mean, in that time, in mid 2010, probably 2015, 16, around that time. Right, we did a lot of debt, and we of course raised a lot of equity. I went and pitched a lot of VCs. So I basically have work experience that ranges from investment banking to large corporates to M&A, currency derivatives. Then, in fact, I think I forgot even one more thing. When I was in Coromandel, I have done interest rate swaps and currency swaps and combined swaps. So in our syllabus, we have not done combined swaps, but I have actually done combined swaps of currency and interest rate together for a foreign currency loan that is denominated in, LIBOR plus some the rate. Right, so I've done those loans also. Anyway, just coming back. So I've done stuff on FMCG basic accounting where I had worked. Then I had worked in investment bank in their equity research team. Then I had worked in large corporate in M&A, capital raise, then hedging currency risk, then entering into currency derivatives, both forwards and a lot of options, structured options, and a lot of loans, tremendous amount of loans. And in fact, I did a lot of securitization also when I was in Coromandel. So in fact, at Coromandel, we had done a large securitization deals for I think 4 or 5 years continuously, which were completely led and done by me, each one into running few hundreds of crores. Right, then after that I moved into startup, and there I have worked with the startup. I understand how startups function. I have pitched to investors. I have raised money for a startup, raised both equity as well as debt, and now I run my own startup, EdTech startup, which is IndigoLearn. And I have a very varied experience, which actually, if you look at it, covers entirety of our syllabus, and it is a very, very unique thing that I actually have to claim, that I have done every single thing that is there in the syllabus. I have done. And in fact, I have been an investor since the day I turned 18 or so. I actually opened a bank account and a trading account, and I've been an investor for last 20 years. Right, I have seen the 2001 dot-com bust, then I've seen Enron, whatever are the issues. I have seen 2007 Lehman crash. I was there in the trading room on the day Satyam scam happened. Then, I have seen rupee touch move from 49 to 70. So today the rupee is at a different level, but I have seen rupee being extremely volatile. I have seen a lot of startup entities of my friends, my batchmates, my colleagues, a lot of them getting funded, a lot of them getting bust. So I have done a variety of things. So if you look at our syllabus, right, I have done almost 99% of everything that has been there, including mutual funds, because I've been an investor in SIPs for a very, very long time. Right, since the time AMFI, that is the organization which used to run this campaign called Mutual Fund Sahi Hai, even before that time, I actually used to invest in SIPs for a very long time. And because of my background, even in the fertilizer company where I was working, I have an understanding of commodity derivatives also. So believe me when I say I have done practically almost every single thing that is there in our SFM syllabus, I have actually done. So I am pretty sure that I'll be able to add a lot of value, both from a theory perspective as well as from a practical perspective. And friends, SFM is wonderful subject. It is my favorite subject when I was pursuing CA, and finance is my favorite subject when I did my MBA from ISB in Hyderabad. And in fact, I'm also a chartered financial analyst from USA. I did it in 2007 and 8. Along with my MBA, actually, I pursued CFA. Right, so I believe that I can add a lot of value to what you're learning, try and give you underlying concepts as well as a lot of practical knowledge, and most important thing what you guys require is examination success. I believe that we both together can work on all these three things: concepts, practical application, and examination success. Right, so we'll work on underlying concepts, practical applications, and your examination success. Not to undermine examination success, specifically because this particular subject, SFM, is very, very high scoring. There are cases in the past where people have scored 100 also. And there are a lot of people who score in 80s, 90s, and so on. And friends, believe me, this subject can really help you reach that critical milestone of aggregate. So a lot of students face this issue of clearing a lot of subjects but not getting through the hurdle of aggregate. So this one subject can actually take you there. And more importantly, if you are trying to score a rank an all India rank, definitely you have to score very well in SFM, and it is a scorable subject, right? It is not as if that it is a non-scorable subject. It's a very high scoring subject. So I would request all of you to remember these aspects as we move into how to study SFM, or how we should prepare, or how we should look at SFM. I want you to remember all these aspects as we go there. But one thing, friends, that I want you to remember as we go along in this particular subject is exam perspective is definitely important, but believe me, career perspective or knowledge perspective is also very, very important, because it is your knowledge which is the foundation for your exam success as well as the foundation for your career. And SFM is one beautiful, interesting, extremely exciting subject. It is core finance, right? You would have done financial management in CA Inter. It covered only certain aspects. SFM, that particular subject, goes into much deeper levels. It goes into far greater detail of the whole theory of finance, right? Basically, it goes into your CAPM model, it gets into stock markets, it is done, you are taken through what happens in startups, what happens in, M&A. So there's a lot of stuff that is covered. And I fundamentally believe that as young chartered accountants that you're going to become very soon, career opportunities are plenty and abound in this area of finance, much more than you would say traditional accounting or traditional tax filing, GST or auditing. Because this is one subject, this finance is one subject that everyone, whether it is an accountant or an engineer, even they aspire to learn it very well. If you go to any of the B schools, any of the MBA colleges, any of the IIMs or ISB or any of the top colleges in US, a lot of people aspire to, reach into these levels of high finance, probably get into investment banking or get into VC world or, anything like that. So from your career perspective as well as your exam perspective, I am not trying to take the importance of exam away. Please learn this subject throughout the course of this, next 120, 130 hours, whatever I'm going to teach. Please learn it with the intention of succeeding the exam. At the same time, get practical knowledge so that it will actually help you make a decision on career, whether you want to choose a career in finance, and also whether it will help you in getting or clearing your job interviews. Okay, so I want you to remember these two elements, exam success and career, when you are trying to learn strategic financial management. One very, very important thing I want to clarify here, my friends. In this entire subject, there is lots and lots and lots of practical aspects. You'll do a lot of problems. I will do, few hundreds of illustrations, okay, because it's a practical subject, right? But the base is theory. You have to have solid concepts. Your concept should be crystal clear, just like FR. Right, financial reporting, what you do, it's a, creating a balance sheet or treatment of, various forms of expenses, or how, expenses are recognized or assets are capitalized. All of that is, when you create the balance sheet in P&L, you are basically solving a problems in exam. But the underlying concepts are theoretical, and you have to be crystal clear on those theoretical concepts. You have to be crystal clear on those theoretical concepts. SFM is also the same manner. Before we further move into the actual subject, some more points I want to highlight. So some simple things that you have to remember as we go through this course of SFM. Number one, you don't need to mug up anything. You don't need to mug up or by heart or remember, no ratta. In Hindi, ratta means by heart, right? So no need to remember anything except for few formulae, and those formulae you will anyway remember if you solve multiple problems. And as I said, we are going to solve hundreds of problems in this particular entire e-learning series of IndigoLearn. And friends, when we are going to solve all those problems, there is one thing I want all of you guys to do. Okay, we are going to provide notes, we are going to provide a formula sheet also. You can go through the formula sheet, I am not saying no, but I want you to write with your hand, your book or paper and your pen. I want you to list down all the formulae as I am teaching them. Believe me, you create a 2-page, 3-page, 4-page, summary of all formulae with your own handwriting, and you revise it before the exam. That will bring back a lot of memories of what exactly did you do in that particular topic or chapter, or how did you solve those concepts. Our formula sheet or our cheat sheet or whatever you can call it, it will always be there, but you will remember more. Writing one time is equivalent to reading 10 times. So you will remember more if you write down each and every formulae that we are going to learn through this course. Okay, that is one promise you all have to make, because it is not for me, it is for you. You keep those 4 pages, 5 pages, 10 pages or a separate booklet, small booklet for only for formulae for SFM. Believe me, that will be your last minute quick revision for you. Okay, that is one more thing that you have to promise to yourself and promise to me, because that is when this entire process will go smooth, process of learning SFM properly. Next, one more point I want you to remember. We are going to solve a lot of problems and I am going to give solutions to these problems in Excel also. But you should not read a problem. What do I mean by that? When you are trying to solve the problem, you should solve. You should make your own mistakes. You should not say, Acha, I'll go through the problem like this. Nobody in history has ever understood, unless they are extreme genius people, unless they are, really genius kind of folks. People, normal people like you and me, cannot understand a concept by just looking at it and turning pages of problems. No. Okay, just by looking at an Excel sheet, I will understand the problem. No. You have to solve along with me. Just because we at IndigoLearn and I, Sriram, are making it easy by giving you these Excel sheets and giving so many problems, it should not make you complacent. Complacent means very, very indisciplined or very, very casual. It should actually only be a supporting tool. Whatever I give should be supporting tool. You are the one who's going to write the exam. I am not the one. I've already cleared my CA. You are the one who's going to write the exam. So you have to solve. That is second promise that you have to make to me. First promise, what I said, you have to maintain your own formula sheet or cheat sheet. Second promise, though IndigoLearn and Sriram will give you a lot of Excel sheets or a lot of tips and tricks, you have to solve. When I'm solving a problem, if you want, pause the video. Okay, pause the video. I'll keep saying it multiple places that, pause the video and solve your problem, right? You still have to do it. Okay, only then will you understand the underlying concepts. Only then will you make mistakes. Only then you will learn from those mistakes, so that you don't do mistakes in exam. Eventual goal is you don't do these mistakes in exam, right? This is the second promise that you have to make. And the third promise is what I said earlier, please don't mug up. There is no need to by heart anything. I will give you enough tools to basically explain, help you understand a lot of stuff. If you were to revise it frequently, you will remember the key points. We will give you some mnemonics. We will give you some ways to remember, but there is no need to mug up stuff. That is another promise that you have to make. So I believe that I should never mug up even if I lose a mark. That is my philosophy. I don't know whether it is your philosophy or not. Some of you may want to do it, some of you may not want to do it. But my suggestion is, when it comes to practical aspects, please do not mug up. Okay. And the fourth promise, what you have to make, finance as a subject is good amount of mathematics. Okay, some of you have come through the foundation scene, some of you are good in math, some of you may not be good in math. People who are good in math, please remember, we are not doing a PhD in mathematics. We are doing strategic financial management subject that we are trying to learn. You are not here to do PhD. I'll give you an example. What do I mean by that? There are deep formulae where with respect to, let's say, logarithms, or with respect to, the formulas for Black-Scholes models have been created. All of that stuff, right, is hardcore math. In fact, the Black-Scholes formula is been derived from some heat transfer equation in physics. Okay, the formula Black-Scholes equation for options pricing has been derived from a heat transfer formula in physics. Now, you are studying CA. Some of you have chosen CA because you did not want to do physics, correct? So, please don't end up doing a PhD in mathematics or physics trying to figure the reason behind every single formula. Wherever relevant formulae are there, I am there to explain. Wherever there is a logic, I will explain. Wherever something you need to remember, something you need to understand, I will 100% explain. But trying to go deep into every single thing, you are only going to waste time. Some of you already know this. I am telling this, or I am repeating this, and I am reinforcing this only for the people who think that they will learn every single thing. Okay? That every single thing needs to be understood, but certain things are not necessary from your exam perspective. You may definitely learn them from a knowledge perspective. But for SFM examination success, nobody will ask you to derive the Black-Scholes formula. You need to know the application, you need to know the implications, you need to know the movements of the formula. Right? So that is one more thing. And the second part, what I said is, one kind of people who like math or who are very, very deeply involved in math, I said they need not do a PhD. Second set of people who don't like math. Okay, the mathematics here is extremely simple. It is logic driven mathematics. Please don't tell me that you don't understand logic. Okay, you have cleared CA intermediate, and I am pretty sure if you apply your mind, you will understand any sort of logic. Okay, so other set of people who don't like maths, or who are, who are afraid of maths, or who are generally, have an aversion. Aversion means they hate, right, to mathematics. If you are going to be hating mathematics, believe me, you are only making this subject difficult for yourself, because this subject is simple math, and wherever possible throughout the entire course, entire teaching, I will explain the underlying concept why we are doing something. To that extent, if you are able to understand, remember, and you are able to internalize the concept, and you make your own cheat sheet, and you promise to solve all the problems, believe me, this subject will be super easy. Okay, so these are the 4 set of promises that you have to make before we start actually getting into the main subject. Okay, then there are some people who believe or who have doubts in what order we should study SFM. So can I study somewhere in between? Should I start from chapter 1? Should I start from study material order? Or I like some topics, shall I start there? If you are studying SFM for the first time, okay, if you are studying SFM for the first time, I would recommend to go in the order of syllabus given in the study material only. Okay, go in the order of study material. There are some cases where they have taught topics not necessarily in order, but it is not really a big problem. Okay, 1 or 2 small topics here and there is not going to make a difference. You can completely follow the study material order. However, there is an exception. Just like for every rule and law has an exception, here also there is an exception. There are 3 or 4 very, very general topics. What are these very, very general topics? Things like mutual funds, securitization, startup finance, or first chapter on what is strategic financial management, financial planning, and what is strategy. So all these chapters are very, very simple. They are not necessarily 100% connected to rest of the chapters. Okay, so those chapters, if you want, you can finish first, if you want. Otherwise, please go in the order of the study material. Okay, so that is one important element that I want to communicate. So now friends, I would now just want to highlight what are the various things or topics or let's say chapters that we are going to learn. What is their relative importance in the exam? I just want to take you guys through those basic elements of what are the chapters, what is the marks weightage. And the marks weightage is broadly been same since institute has given out those skill wise weightages. I am taking it from the institute BOS website only. Even if you do the analysis, it will broadly 90% will come from the same skill wise weightages. So even if you do an analysis of last few years question papers, you will easily figure out that they are all following that pattern what they have given in that skill wise weightages section of BOS website of ICAI. Okay, so there are broadly 6 sections. Okay, from a skill perspective, there are broadly 6 sections. Each section has different weightage and each section has 2 to 3 chapters. Okay, overall SFM has 14 chapters. Okay, these chapters, as I said, are split into 6 parts. The first part is chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay, this is financial policy and corporate strategy and risk management. These two together roughly form 5 to 10% of overall weightage. Then you have chapter 3, 4 and 5. Security analysis, security valuation and portfolio management. So security analysis is basically about stock market. Security valuation is how do you value securities. Portfolio management is how do you manage a portfolio. Very, very simple stuff. Okay, this is roughly 20 to 30% of overall weightage in exam. Then you have securitization, mutual funds, derivative analysis and valuation, chapters 6, 7 and 8. They roughly constitute 20 to 25% of the marks. Okay, then you have chapters 9, 10 and 11, foreign exchange exposure and risk management, international financial management, interest rate risk management. Okay, these basically take another 20 to 30%. Then you have corporate valuation, mergers, acquisitions and corporate restructuring, chapter 12 and chapter 13. This constitutes roughly 10 to 15%. Last part is startup finance, which is the 14th chapter, roughly 5 to 10%. Every year there is one small question from this chapter. Okay, if you understand it well and remember what are the key concepts that are taught there, you will easily score 5 to 10 marks. So if you look at it, the second set, third, fourth, fifth, sets 2, 3, 4 and 5, these are primarily practical questions Securitization is one exception there, that probably they will ask theory questions. And startup finance is primarily theory. Financial policy and corporate strategy is theory. Risk management, part theory, part practical. Okay. So you broadly have 4 or 5 theory aspects, or rather theory chapters, and rest of them are theory based, a lot of good theory based on which a lot of practical questions are asked in the exam. Fair enough? So you have now broadly understood what is the structure of SFM, Strategic Financial Management, that we are going to study. So friends, please remember the promises you have made with respect to cheat sheet, solving problems, and not mugging up, not doing PhD in math and all. Okay, that is one side. Please think of this subject to get good knowledge which can help you succeed in the exam and also help you in a career perspective, probably get you a job in stock markets, get you a job in banking or investment banking, startup, wherever it is, right? Please keep all these things in mind when we start studying this subject. Okay, so now let's start with the first chapter in SFM.